Hello and welcome to our ENG 06 final project. We chose the dice game rubric and our game is called Space Race. My name is Teddy Stebbins from Group 8.
My name is Mihir Singra.
I'm Carlos Cifuentes.
And I'm Jay Rajaram.
So, as Teddy said, Space Race is our dice game project. It is a two-player dice game where players roll die to get points. They can make calls, predictions before a die is rolled in order to gain or lose points. And a game can be won or lost when a player hits a maximum or minimum number of points respectively, or if both players hit that max or min, then the game will end in a tie. I'm actually going to hand it over to Jay now to take it from there.
So we click on the how to play, which takes us to the rules of the game, as you can see here. And then when you click on the start button, it takes you to the main game.
Once you're at the main game, you're able to select your avatar, which will change your name and also the image. After you select your avatar, now you can press start and roll the game. After starting, you can place your bets, which is pass, no pass, and skip, and each one will determine how much money you'll win or lose after each roll.
And as you can see here, the table on the bottom right updates every time dice A and B are rolled. It adds one every time the dice is rolled. Same with sum.
And the table in the bottom right, as you can see, contains the values for naturals, craps, and point numbers as a reference for players for whenever these values are rolled. And finally, as you can see, there are player 1 amount and player 2 amount, which are the amount of points each player starts with, which fluctuate as the dice are rolled. And when either a player reaches 130 or the other player reaches 70, the player who reached 130 or the player who did not reach 70 will win, in which case a winning screen is showed, which looks like this. Has 3 options. It can either give you the option to play again, in which the game will reset and you will start over. It gives you the option to go back to the home screen, which can revisit the rule set, or finally, you can just exit the program altogether. Jay will now share his screen again with our code view for our project, and we will give you a very brief rundown of each of our components.
All right, so we start here. This is basically the backbone of our scoring system of the game. It's a simple function to update the scoreboard as the game goes on. Simple switch case function. So our natural numbers are 7 and 11. So in the case that a natural is rolled, depending on what the players bet, whether it's a pass, no pass, or a skip, they will gain 5 points. As you can see, it adds 5 points to the player value, or removes it if your bet is incorrect. Or you can choose to play safe and skip, in which case, as you can see, there is no change made to the field, and the game progresses on. And this is duplicated for both players 1 and 2. The converse of this is also true for our crap numbers, which are 2, 3, and 12.
Perfect. Thank you, Mihir. So next we have our function to play the dice sound. Very simple function that runs a WAV file we have on the computer, which will play whenever the dice are rolled. You probably heard it when we were running our game. It's a simple dice rolling sound. We then have our win-lose component, which is a function with if and else if statements that give pop-ups when certain things happen in the game, specifically win, lose, or tie. So winning involves hitting 130 points or your opponent hitting 70 points, in which case player 1 wins, player 2 loses, assuming you're player 1, or vice versa if player 2 were to win. There also is the case in which the game ties, in which both players either reach 130 points or 70 points simultaneously, in which case the game ends in a tie. And then finally, there is a plays winning sound that plays whenever a player wins with another WAV file on the computer that runs with it.
What happens is the table on the bottom right, which is over here, updates every time dice A and B are rolled, adds one every time the dice is rolled, and same with sum. And we add one to its cell array over here, as you can see.
Okay, and now for the startup function, it basically just sets up or enabled or disabled our buttons. So as you saw, you weren't able to like roll or pick a bet before you like picked your avatar and press the start button. And then for our start button pushed, that's basically once you press start, you're able to start the game and like roll your dice and like get your table updated and stuff like that.
Perfect. Thank you.
I can now start talking about the avatar dropdown. So this was again a very simple switch case where we have a drop-down menu, and depending on the avatar that each player picks, it sets a value that ThingSpeak can use to translate that. And if we scroll down a bit further, we can actually see how using another switch case function, the avatar is linked to an image that will be associated with the chosen player. And this is true for both player 1 and 2, where we have 8 different avatars to choose from, 4 for each player.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mahir. So next we have the roll button.
First, we generate random numbers, dice A and B using rand function and display on dice A and B. The roll button displays the sum of the dice A and B, updates the table, displays the image of dice A and B, plays the dice sound, and finally it checks whether the player has won or lost. We use functions to update the table, play the dice sound, and check winner. Then we check if a point number is rolled. If true, enter the if statement. We set the variable num tries to 3. Number of turns left, and shooter's point number is displayed. A message box saying point number is rolled pops up. Finally, we call check winner function to see who won or lost, or if it's a tie.
Perfect. Thank you, Jay. All right, if you want to scroll down a little bit more, here we have the point number roll button. So point number roll button is the point number roll that comes up after a point number is rolled on the original roll. And this essentially allows you to roll as you can see, our point numbers are 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10. And if those are rolled on the normal dice, the point number roll becomes active. If we want to continue scrolling, we have 3 cases which Carla will take over for the point number.
Yes. So for the first case, it's rolling a 7 before your point number. And what that does is just if your sum is equal to 7, you would either lose $10 if you bet pass and win $10 if you bet no pass. And if you bet skip, you don't lose or win any. And also a message will pop up like explaining like what happened. So it'll tell you rolled 7 and explains who loses and who wins. And then for case 2, it's if you roll your point number before a 7, and that basically just flips the outcomes. And instead of losing 10 when you bet pass, you would win 10, and for no pass, you would lose 10. And then another message would pop up saying that you rolled a point number. For the last case, it's if you don't roll a 7 or a point number, so that basically means you ran out of your point roll tries. And for this, if you bet pass, you would lose $5, and if you bet no pass, you would win $5.
Perfect. Thank you. So finally, we have our reset button, which just resets all the values in our game. And we have our end button, which ends the game and closes the app entirely. And as you can see at the bottom here, we have all of our GUIs, just this long line of code at the end that stores all of our different values used throughout our project. And finally, Jay will show our ThingSpeak aspect of our project.
We use ThingSpeak read and write on start button, roll button, point number, roll button. I set the player 1 and 2 avatar values to 1 to 4 and player 1 and 2 bets to values 1 to 4. We write player 1 and 2 amounts to fields 1 and 2, player 1 and 2 avatar values to fields 3, 4, and player 1 and 2 bets to fields 5 and 6. Now we read those values on my channel. Player 1 amount is $105 and player 2 amount is $95. Player 1 and 2 avatar values are 4 and 4. Player 1 and 2 bets are 1 and 2.